Even though it's been a while, welcome back to my series What Once Was, where we analyze locomotives, history, and operations of railroads that were crucial in the development of my home region of North Louisiana. Before getting started, a huge thanks goes out to Mr. Mose Crews for supplying and allowing me to use his photos in this video. It's the mid-1960s. The era of steam is still fresh in the memories of citizens of the United States, even though diesel power is now the dominant force of railroad transportation. With the almost unlimited demand, new models of state-of-the-art diesel locomotives were being released just about every year, just like a car model. In January of 1966, the Electro Motor Division would begin production of what many consider the greatest locomotive of all time, the SD40. This locomotive model is commonly viewed as the peak of EMD's existence. The SD40 and the SD40-2 would be produced for 2 decades. With the less than satisfactory models that would follow the SD40, EMD would eventually lose its throne to General Electric throughout the 1980s and 90s. With 3,000 horsepower and a new 645 diesel engine, it seemed like every railroad wanted their share of this locomotive. What many people associate with this model would be the extra long platforms on both the front and the rear of the Dash 2s, which added 3 feet and an inch to the SD40's already impressive length of 65 feet and 9 inches. The recent fallen flag, Kansas City Southern, was no exception when it came to utilizing the SD40's. In today's video, we are going to be overviewing the entire fleet of SD40's to serve under the KCS, with all variants included. Today, only a few KCS SD40's are serving under CPKC, but at one time, you could not find a KCS road train without one of these. Let's rewind all the way back to 1966 when the SD40 was introduced to the industry. The KCS had a plentiful amount of GP7s, GP9s, F units, and other older units still running around the road. Unlike many of the big dogs in the industry, the humble KCS had yet to dip its feet into the pool of 6-axle power. Many trains would be seen with 4, 5, 6, and even more locomotives hauling road trains in the South and Midwest. It turns out that the SD40 series locomotive would be the perfect solution to increase efficiency for the KCS. In the fall months of 1966, October and November, the first purchase of SD40's would include 14 locomotives numbered 600 through 613. The first 6 axles of the railroad would be delivered in their simple yet iconic white paint scheme. While eye-catching when first delivered, it wouldn't take very long for these motors to look nasty with every speck of dust showing right up on the frame. While they eventually would be repainted into the battleship gray with yellow hazard stripes on the nose, many of the older rail fans still view the white paint as the definitive look for the KCS. In 1968, KCS would purchase 8 more SD40's, numbered as numbers 614 through 621. And there's one notable motor in that second set, number 616 specifically. As I'm sure many of you know, in 1976, to honor the USA's bicentennial, many railroads would paint locomotives in patriotic paint schemes. KCS would choose 616, along with an SD40-2 that came later on, the 642. Unfortunately, the results were a little less than ideal. Now, I know exactly what you're thinking. This abomination looks like some elementary-age kid's coloring book. And as funny as it sounds, that's actually the truth. The design of the bicentennials were in fact based off the design of a school kid. I don't know what the reasoning behind this decision was, but I can't really help but imagine how bad the painters felt when this thing rolled out of the shops. After that, the railroad would purchase 15 more standard SD40's that would be numbered all the way to 636 to amount to a grand total of 37 standard SD40's. Introduced in 1972, the SD40-2 would quickly become one of the most popular locomotives ever manufactured. Equipped with new HTC trucks that justified the longer platforms, and other small upgrades, it essentially was an improvement of the standard model. while not even being close to ordering the most, which granted some giants such as Burlington Northern would purchase over 800, KCS would order 46 of these. They would continue the number system where the standard models left off, from 637 to 692. While not buying as large quantities as other railways, KCS would have the honor of owning the first SD40-2 ever constructed. The 642 would be the second terrible bicentennial locomotive for the railroad, but the rest would follow the same paint scheme history, delivered in the ghostly white and later repainted in gray, while a few survivors would make it into the retro bell scheme that many of us know today. Some of these SD40s would come with the popular snoot nose design. While an oddity, these snoot designs did have a purpose, and that was to store extra radio equipment, to my knowledge. I may not be correct on that, so please correct me if I'm wrong. While we've gone over the popular model, let's overview some of the less popular variants of the SD40. There were many variants of this model, such as B-unit variants, high hoods, and more. We're now going to overview 3 other different versions of the SD40 that served on the KCS. Many rail fans are familiar with the tunnel motor variant thanks to Western giants such as the Southern Pacific and Rio Grande. The major difference of these SD40T-2s and SD45T-2s from the standard model was their experimental cooling system radiators and intakes on the rear. These were specifically designed for the rough mountain terrain of the West. While Kansas City Southern didn't exactly battle mountains as tough as the Rio Grande or slither through tunnels like the SP, for some reason, the railroad would have some of these tunnel motors in their fleet. Numbered 4500 through 4509, KCS had a total of 10 SD45Ts that were rebuilt in the SD45-3s. KCS would purchase these motors secondhand from Southern Pacific. While purchased in the 1990s, the tunnel motor rebuilds would not have a significant tenure with the railroad, being phased out in the mid to late 2000s, but their short period sporting battleship gray is certainly a highlight in their history. The standard SD45 model with their eye-catching flared radiators also had a place on the now fallen flag. While these were bought secondhand from railroads such as C&W and SCL, KCS would invest some capital in rebuilding these into SD40-3s, similar to what they did with many of their original models. Although rebuilt on the inside, they still have the body of an SD45. In fact, you can still catch, I believe, 2 of these still in service on the CPKC. And the last variant that we are going to overview is the often overlooked SD40X. Following the massive success of the SD40 series, the manufacturer was looking into the future for their next series. Preceding the disappointing performance of the SD50, EMD would release several experimental SD40Xs that, to my knowledge, were essentially the SD50 prototype. KCS had purchased 4 of these, and they were numbered 700 through 703. Although many considered the SD50 a disappointment, I assume KCS had some satisfaction with the 4 test motors' performances, since KCS would indeed make an order for the SD50. Well folks, that's about all I got for today's video. I hope you enjoyed this summary of the SD40s of the Kansas City Southern. While today only a handful of these locomotives are still active on the CPKC, it's such an interesting research topic in an era where they were the main source of road power for the fallen flag. If you enjoyed this video, please click on the like button down below to show me that you want to see more of this series. Once again, major shout out to Mr. Mose Crews for allowing me to use his photos from his very impressive collection. And until next time, my friends, I'll be looking for you somewhere out there along the rails, and as always, thanks for watching.